Nicolet Bay has been struggling with power issues for a number of years. This has led to both Mayors Keequam and Begay banding together to request that Superior Power, the state's largest power utility, invest more in electrical infrastructure in the county. Superior Power has made the commitment to do so, but informed the mayors that Governor Johnson has instructed the Public Services Commission, the agency that regulates public utilities, to only approve power plants if they are of renewable energy. The rivers in the county will not work for hydroelectric. Geothermal is only viable in the western United States. Ocean thermal energy conversion plants, though investigated for the Great Lakes, have not had serious research undertaken in them in over 40 years. Nuclear is interesting, but the most recent nuclear power plant opened 7 years ago and took 43 years to make its way through the approvals and construction process. Solar updraft, which Governor Johnson inquired about, is only a pipe dream. Solar is possible, but the power plants aren't produced locally and they're expensive. So that leaves wind. And though the area is prime for offshore wind turbines, installing them in the water has proved to be controversial. Installing them on land is considerably less controversial while still receiving the benefits of those coastal winds. Further, a large producer of wind turbines is located across the lake in Manitowoc, and with our new harbor, we could float the turbines into the community. In today's episode, we're going to build this new wind farm in the town of Ashwaubenon. But rather than just plopping down a bunch of wind turbines and calling it a day, we're going to thoughtfully create the area, ensuring that each facility has access and that reasonable uses are placed nearby. And at the end of the episode, we're going to name a couple of things based upon your suggestions. Now, if you like wind energy, hit the like button. And if you wish we would have built that nuclear plant, hit the like button for that too. And let me know in the comments which option you prefer. Also, if you think we should have a Nicolet Bay live stream soon, why don't you drop your favorite emoji down in the comments. Without any further ado, let's jump right in. Hello, welcome back to City Planner Plays, where we are building Nicolet Bay, and we've got a good one today. We are going to be building a wind farm. I don't think that we've ever built anything like this on the channel, so I'm really excited to tackle it. And we've chosen this town right here, Ashwaubenon, which means place where they keep watch or keep a lookout in Ojibwe. And we're keeping an eye on this island out here, because at some point soon, we're going to need to venture across the bay and explore this. That said, that day is not today. Today, we need to stabilize our power. So the very first thing that we're going to do is start to place some of our wind assets and take a look at why this is a good location. If we take a look here, we can see that all the way around this little bluff area, there is an excellent capability and capacity for wind energy. And that's why we've chosen this location, among other reasons. The next reason is if we take a look at our contours, we can find a way up here. There are some other locations that are excellent for wind, such as this one, but how do we get over here? We don't exactly have direct access. Even though this is a great location, right now we have no access. So in the future maybe, but not now. Here, on the other hand, we will be able to head up the side here and have excellent access all the way up here. And we are going to provide access to each and every one of our wind turbines. So to start out with, let's figure out how much wind energy we actually need. So we're going to click on our electricity menu and see that right now our consumption is about 135 megawatts. But I want to crank this over to night so we actually have an idea of how much energy that we're using. So move this to midnight, our temperature will plummet, and we will start to see what our consumption is actually at. Okay, we're actually a whole heck of a lot closer to 185. So that's something to keep in mind because we are going to be at night sometimes. And as a result, we want to, we spiked to 200 at one point there. So these are all things to keep in mind. We need to make sure that we are providing enough power for our peak period. Now, the other thing to keep in mind is as we are placing these power plants, we'll slow this down, we are going to need to think about how much these produce. Now, if we take a look at this, looks like our top production location is going to give us about 7 or 8 megawatts. So this is with our power budget being elevated. So let's come through here and decrease this. We'll place one. We'll see if it's 7 before or after our budget. Okay, so it's actually producing 10. So our budget shenanigans are taking place after the fact. So if you recall, if we go into our budget menu, we actually have our budget cranked to 150%. So we're going to need to not do that. At least I would prefer not to. So here's the thing. We're going to need 25 of these turbines if we want to produce 200 megawatts of energy at our 100% budget level. So that's going to be our goal, 25 of these wind turbines. We are going to produce 100% of our electricity using these wind turbines. So I'm going to eliminate this one for the time being. And there's one thing that I noticed while we were in our budget menu, and I know this has been pointed out in the comments too, we are not charging as much as we could for high density. Now that we've added some, we probably should do this. We're going to be spending a lot of money today, so we can use all the help that we can get. So there we go. Now, let's place our wind turbines. And it's interesting. I did a lot of research on these. I wanted to figure out the distances between wind turbines. And what I saw is that it ranged anywhere from, I saw some as close as 800 feet apart, or however many meters this is, and all the way as high as 2,000 feet apart. So the distances seem to vary quite a bit. For the point of the game, I'm just going to try to maximize these so that the power jumps, and then we'll need to run a high power transmission line down the side of the hill. Now, this power didn't jump. I'm hitting M going in to move it, and I'm just going to drag this over till it does. Not the height of realism there, but, you know, we're playing the game. We're making it work. So now we're up to 19. I'm going to add a few more down here. Okay, so not all of these are going to be in the ideal locations. So if we take a look here, we're going to have some of these. And again, we have the power budget boosted still. This is not actually 7 megawatts. It's actually about 75% of that. So we're really looking at maybe 5, 6. So just something to keep in mind as we're going about this. Now, we are going to build a road up here before we do anything else. We'll leave this running. We're going to just burn that money, I guess, because that's what we like to do. And we are going to use our dirt roads to plan everything. So we'll go into rural roads, click on this, and pop out of that menu. And I want to plan a couple of things now that I think about it. This is, at least to me, it seems like the most logical location up here. That said, we do not want to cul-de-sac this. So we're going to need to find a way to get down on the other side too and link up with our highway. So it'll serve double purpose. We'll also likely add a route around here. And remember, the reason why this is fine, there's a couple of reasons, I guess, why I believe this is fine. First of all, this power plant, these power facilities are relatively inexpensive in comparison to the other power options available. They require no input, so no fuel. So if we were building an oil power plant, even though it's one little oil power plant on the side of the road, without all these roads, without all of the bridges that we're likely going to build in the interchange, the ongoing cost of it would be significantly higher than the cost of these wind turbines. So upfront costs very high here, lots of land to procure. That said, this is very low land value in this area, almost no land value. And by building the redundant roads around here, we're actually opening up developable land, the ability to recuperate some of the money that we're investing in building this solar facility. So there are reasons why I believe that this would make sense and why the power company might develop it in this particular way. That said, first things first, let's get up here and get this thing working. So I'm going to start out by leveling a pad up here, and this is going to be where we slope our terrain from. So I'm going to add another pad right here. So I'm right mouse clicking, just flattening this out. And I have this on a very low brush size, very purposefully, so I can control this. Then we are going to go into our slope terrain tool and increase the brush size, maybe 30. Right mouse click up here, left click down here, pull this straight up. You know, I'm a little dubious on that decision. I'm going to undo that. We're going to do something else. I think we might bridge some of this. So we are going to just follow the route that I think makes the most sense, and eventually we'll bridge this up. Now I'm going to pop out of here, and the goal is going to be to have a road that goes in both directions and provides access to each of these wind plants. So I'm going to first go this way. Actually, the very first thing that we're going to do is find a way down the hill. So I know that we need to get here. So the very first place that we'll go is up this way. Now here we will do some sloping. So I want to be able to make this connection here. I want this to be fairly smooth. So we will right mouse click up here, left click here, follow a path that I think we're going to take, and pre-grade this out just a bit. And now we will send this up just a little ways. So we have a nice straight connection, and we'll follow this through. And there we go. That is absolutely slick. Let's get rid of some of these trees. All right, very, very good. So this will be our highway segment. So this is going to provide our arterial access. And now we're going to have our collectors that go in between, then local roads going into each of these wind turbines. So that's kind of how they'll function anyway. And then other uses could be developed off here as well in the future. But let's get this one done first. So we're going to convert this to a highway. And I'm going to allow zoning on all of these. In the future, we might zone some uses. Might as well just formalize that now. Okay, and now this part is going to be the interesting part, because if we take a look here, we can see the contours are very, very bad, but this is okay. We're going to work with this, and here's how. We're going to pop into our network multi-tool and go into our slope terrain tool, and we know that this is going to be pretty bad. I'm going to take a guess. Why don't you take a guess? I'm going to guess 25. That is going to be our steepest segment. 40, because I'm way off base. There we go. So that is still not great. So I'll continue to bring this down and try to find a location where maybe we're out of the red. There we go. We've got 8. I will accept that. No, I won't. Let's just keep going. There we go. 7. So we need to bridge some of this. So what I'm going to do is pop in here, select our elevate road, and any of these locations where we're up above on either side, we'll just elevate this. I feel like this got a little bit ugly, so we're going to try to fix that a little bit. So we'll come in here with our arrange at line mode, and I'm just going to select these and try to fix this up just a little bit. There we go. That's much nicer looking. There's still some flat segments, and coming through here and just hitting those with slope node mode is it could be really helpful. So I did hear that there's an option to have that be your default, and I slope so many of my nodes that I almost wonder if I should just make that my default. So let's investigate that real quick, because I have a feeling this is going to be a thing all the way through this build. So we're going to pop into our pause menu and go into our node controller. And right here under general, node is sloped by default. We're going to select that, and that should resolve some of these issues. We'll flatten them out when we need to. So I like that better. I think it looks a lot nicer. Now that we have this, let's get our collectors set up. So we'll go back into our rural roads, and we've got our contours on still, so we can get these roads going. Now this will end obviously at this particular, it'll kind of be the end of the road here. And then for the rest of these, we just send it right up. I'm going to slope these after the fact. I'll try to move around hills as I can. And that's probably about the best I can do there. Now we need one for this side as well. And I'm going to try to reuse this location. We'll need to find another way back down if we can. There we go. So those are our main paths. And again, we'll get rid of all the trees. All right, feeling good about that. Now we need to provide the direct access to each one of these wind turbines. So what I'm going to do is we have all of these different options enabled with our roadways. I just want angle. That's it. I want to be able to snap to the road and provide a direct access using my freeform tool to, if you see, there's a door there. So the interesting thing that I learned is that those are actually elevator shafts. So that is where the worker would go, enter the elevator shaft to get to the top, where the generator is if they needed to do so. Now here, this one, we're going to extend out, and you'll notice it's just not facing in the right direction. Not a big deal. We will resolve that. Move it, just click it and rotate around, and make sure that we have access right there. Perfect. And I'm Control Hing that down so that we just have common heights there that make a little bit more sense rather than going up a hill, assuming that some of these vehicles could be it could be a little more challenging for them to make that, the vehicles that would need to access this. Okay, so I have these mostly set up at this point, and I think they're looking pretty good. I think the main thing that we need to think about is de-cul-de-sacing these. Because right now we've got these massive cul-de-sacs, and apparently we've still got one little segment of dirt road right here that we need to contend with as well. And this is going to be tough. You can see that we're going to basically have to wind a road across here, but I think that we have to do it. Otherwise, this road is really lengthy. And think if there was a fire at this particular plant right here, how long it would take. Whoa, Megalopolis, 12,000. We've unlocked every new area, which we've already done. And then the International Airport, Cargo Airport Hub, Metropolitan Airport, and some monuments. Very exciting indeed. All right, so now we are going to pull this around. And we're going to basically follow a contour line to meet up with our road again. Go, and we'll need to do the exact same thing over here. And interestingly enough, it looks like this might be the right spot for both of them. And then we're going to come through and hit both of these spots up with the network multi-tool quite heavily. All right, so let's make sure that our slopes make sense. So we'll pop through here and just see that, you know, there are some places where we could just pop this down a bit, make it look a little bit nicer, make it function a little bit better for us. Now I want to focus on this highway segment a little bit. This is going to be the most important segment. This will eventually be a high-speed highway linking up all the way through here. This will be a very heavily trafficked road. So let's adjust these. If we can get it into the orange, 7.5, I feel pretty good about that. And truthfully, it looks like for the most part, we're there. We'll hit enter. Look at that, 2.9. Feeling very good about that. Very, very good. Now through here again, we'll get our contours back up, and I just want to find areas like this where we're dropping down 8 meters in relative short order. We'll smooth some of those out. None of the smaller stuff though. Small potatoes we won't worry about. And I couldn't help myself. I went through and I fixed everything. But I do think it looks pretty darn good now. So there's a reason and a logic for all of these roads. And I do think that these wouldn't be the only things out here. Reasonably, in most of these areas, what you would see would be farms of some sort out here. So I would expect that this is, farm fields, maybe apple orchards, things of that nature that can exist completely fine within here. That said, we have absolutely no demand for industrial. So we are going to zone a couple of things, but let's focus on getting around here first. So we're going to build a coastal road that meets up with this one right here, and then we will build an interchange. So we're going to run this along here. We're going to follow the coast more or less, maybe more the tree line, at least in this area. And now to meet up with this, I want to make sure that these junctions are going to be far enough apart, and I want to come in at a 90 and have a little bit of space in between. So we'll pull this up 4 or 5-ish units and then pull this on over. We'll turn on all of our snap tools so we can get that grid back, and it does not like what we've done here. That is unfortunate. Need to back that up just a bit. Okay, and this one will again be a highway. Now, here's the thing. I think we're going to lower the speed of this road coming through here. The shorter route, it's hillier terrain. It would be a little bit more treacherous. This right here is going to be a coastal route. It'll be a little bit faster. We'll try to kind of mirror some of the speeds that we're seeing in other places. And again, we're forcing our zoning. And all of these roads are being constructed at the expense of the power utility. Now, they need these for public safety purposes, But again, these are going to open up developable lots, all of which are beneficial to the power company, helping them recoup their investment and their customers potentially. So wins all around. There we go. Now we've got to get this set up here, but I think we're going to take a beat on that because we should just get our power established, our connections made. So let's pop through here, and we've got, it looks like there's just a couple of locations where maybe things got separated. Not a big deal. We've got our utility box, and I am totally fine to add in one or two of these as needed. Bridge that connection, jump it on over. And now over here, we are going to run a main power line. So as much as this will not be loved, we're going to run it just on the opposite side of the road here. I'm going to turn off anarchy. And then here we jump our highway and we just go straight up the hill. And that's one of the reasons I wanted anarchy off, is just so that we could get all the way up there without any issues. Now, here's where I get real nervous, because we're about to do something that's really important. We're making our connection here. Obviously, we don't have a transformer, utility, substation sort of deal. So we're not going to have that. And that's okay. We don't need to get into that level of detail in this build. But I'm going to do something now that's going to make me very nervous. We're going to turn these off temporarily. And we got to pay attention. Do any places lose power? Because if they do, we need to pause it immediately and reconnect. So far, so good. We are going to pop on through our budget and lower our utility budget. So far, so good. 283 megawatts produced, 135 consumed. We are going to eliminate our old power plants to free up some of that shoreline for better uses. Now, we have a disconnect here now, and I see that that is a problem. So I will run our power line there, and that makes me wonder, whoa. All right, we're gonna speed this up. That little connection there was very critical, to the point that I'm very uneasy. I don't know why this isn't linking up right here. Something's not working, and I'm very uncomfortable. So we are going to try to figure this out. I don't know what's going on. We can see that we have this little power line right here, and I thought that it does. It links up. I'm very, very confused. Another option is to add in a redundant power line, and I think we're going to take that one. So I will just kind of carve a power line through the hillside. So hopefully this does it. So I'm linking basically this residential to our industry, and that appears to be doing the trick. Okay, the last thing we want to do is kill all of Nicolet Bay by getting some clean energy sources. That would be a real shame. All right, we're good now. Now we've got to clean up our trees. So I want to find all of the locations where we have these new power lines. We're just going to go over these and remove the trees. No trees underneath. Now, I know that in reality, you can have some trees underneath these. In fact, I've worked on a grant with ATC, the American Transmission Company. They actually offer a grant to plant underneath their power lines. There are lower trees, things that won't get all that tall, and they do allow it. It's certainly tricky though, and they can remove it whenever they want if they have a need to remove it. And it's like that with utility easements generally. If you have a utility easement in your backyard, for instance, you can plant stuff there. You can put a fence there. You can put a shed in your utility easement. But if that power company needs to come through and do some work, it's well within their right to just rip out whatever you've placed inside of their easement. Okay, feeling good about that. I don't love the platform that's on. I think that's a little weird, but it's okay. Now we have our power. Things are looking very, very good. So now we need an interchange here. This is no good. So what we're going to do is pop into our contour view. We've got this selected, and we are going to turn on anarchy again and run this right underneath and along our coastline here. Now this will dead end, and we've got a lot of work to do here. Obviously, if we take a look, yeah, that's not going to work. We're going to use move it though to fix some of these things and just try to get a height that does make some sense. keeping in mind that we've got our river here and we're just a couple of meters above it. So we're going to select this node, Control H down here, looking good, and that's not looking so good. So we'll Control H this one as well, and from here we can slope. So again, Network Multi-Tool, we'll go into our Slope Terrain tool, select from here, find a reasonable slope. We've got 8% there. We could live with that. Kind of weird, so we won't. So there we go. And here that's 9, that's way too high. We don't want it to be that high. There we go, much, much better. I'm gonna clear some trees out of the way. Now, as I'm looking at this, the only problem I could see is I have kind of disrupted where I intended to bring the highway in with our junctions. So we might need to rethink that. But whenever you're making junctions for highways, it's an iterative process. So you might need to take a couple of shots at it. And that's totally okay. All right, so for here, I basically want to mirror what we've done over here. So we'll come through with our dirt roads, always the very best roads to use to build these sorts of things. And we'll have this road, the start will be bi-directional. And our slopes here are pretty good. So I'm just going to send this out a ways. And then here's where we're going to have 2 movements. One of them is going to loop back around so that if you were getting off, you could drive into here. And the other one will come up so you could get back on the highway. We'll have to have this on both sides of the highway. So there's 2 approaches that we could do. We could add it on both sides and have a park low, do it over here either way. But I think we're going to try to stick to both sides on this side of the highway, which means that we likely have to move this road connection over a bit because the 2 junctions will be too close. So all things to keep in mind. So this is pretty straightforward when you have mods. It's very easy to put together, not too difficult at all. And then we'll do the exact same thing over here. And again, I think we'll just steal a bit of this and send this up this way. There we go. And that should be a pretty good foundation for this interchange right here. Obviously, we've got to do a bunch of sloping and some work, remove our trees, get our lane mathematics to make sense. But I think for the most part, this is what we're looking for. So the very first thing I want to do is start to look at our slopes. So I'm going to select this height here, pull this down. And now we're at 4, which I think is doable. Same thing here. And now you're going to notice that it's got some weird overlapping stuff here. This really has something to do with this node right here. So we'll just shimmy that a bit, and now we have a nice junction there. Here, it's the same deal. Just move that just a bit, and let's get back into our sloping. There, I think that this is a nice compromise on all accounts. So now we need to reorient this. And in fact, I am thinking we're just going to call a mulligan on this, and let's get this to be closer to our highway. And then now this is the height of realism and totally respecting the topography. We're just going to pull this back around here, and we're trying to create some separation in between these 2 junctions. Otherwise, my fear is that these are too close. I could see there being a world where these are both roundabouts. Otherwise, my fear is that this becomes a very heavily utilized movement, and it's just the junctions there would be a problem. Okay, and we fixed our slopes there. Things are looking significantly better. Now we've just got to upgrade this junction here. So we're going to turn off our zoning so that we're not forcing that here, and we'll get these upgraded. And then I'm going to Control N into Node Controller. We're just going to square all these up. And truthfully, we could probably stop here if we wanted to, but I don't want to. I want this to be even better. First of all, right here, we're going to, that is sloping already. I wonder if we come through here and we go a little bit further. We take this height and we slope through here. I thought that would do something better for us. So basically, I wanted to decrease the slope around here And so that's what we've done. I think that that does a little bit better. And interestingly, that makes this kind of a catchment basin. It could be some sort of stormwater pond. So this is looking better in my opinion. Now I want to provide acceleration and deceleration lanes. So we are going to, just on the way in to these exits and the way out, we are going to upgrade these. And now we will go into Node Controller, select these, and I want to line up some of these edges. So you select your first one, so hold down Shift, hit the first one that you want to move, and then you select the one you want to line it up to. So this allows me to have the through lanes here, and then eventually this lane will end. Same thing here. And for this one, we actually want this to line up with the bridge so that these lanes end. And I'm actually thinking I should have ended this before the bridge, and then we'll change these, delete this, and that will give us our nice normal junction right there. And again, into Node Controller, and we'll line this edge up with here. We can slide that back, do the exact same thing here. So in this end, we're actually creating that lane, that exit lane. So we will line this up with this, then drag that out a ways. And then here, we're lining up this edge with here. There, I think that's pretty darn good. Oh, whoops. And as I say that I'm happy and things are looking good, I go and I mess it up. Oh, well. So now I'm going to just fix a bit of this up with the intersection marking tool and do a couple of things like this just to smooth things out. And we will be back in just one moment. Okay, and so I've got most of the marking done, but I figured I'd finish up some of this with you. And basically what I'm doing now is just going through and adding in some of these chevrons. So you hold down Alt, and you have to select where you've already placed the lines on the road. And you can just add these on through here. And here's the thing, I always forget the right direction. So then you can use turn to actually rotate these around. And I believe that I have to invert these. Actually, we'll copy it within here. So let's go in, we'll select our chevrons. I believe that's facing in the right direction. We'll copy it within our fillers menu, come back in here, create a new filler, and then just paste this in. That's better. Now we're in a good place. And even if they're wrong, they're consistently wrong. And you guys can let me know in the comments if I have these backwards. I know I did this in Clearwater County too. I can never remember the correct direction for these. And that should be all of them. There's one more thing that we've got to do, and we want to go into TMPE, and we need to select some of these and Control S to stay in our lanes. So before this, folks could stay through here and merge over. That's not what we want to do. Again, Control S, stay in our lane through all of these. And now what you'll see is that if you're in this lane, you're forced to exit, which is what we want them to do. And I actually don't like what it's doing with our lane connectors here, so I'm going to manually manage some of these. To me, that just makes a little bit more sense. So we're giving some more options there. But you see that little traffic backup that we had is now gone, and people are actually using this already. So I'm feeling very good about that. We're providing a full range of movements here, which was the goal. So our power situation is good. We've got a new interchange. Our power is looking good. The last thing I really want to focus on is getting some residential uses along here. So what we're going to do is, again, we're going to zone along the coast. We're not going to zone this entire area because through here we can have a more substantial development. But I do think in some of these areas it would make some sense, and you would see the developers, which would be the utility company, selling lots. Now I've purposely left some of these lots completely empty, and then around here we've got to get water pipes underneath our roads right where they belong. And some of these buildings just kill me. We're going to live with it. We're going to also place in a transformer at the end of the road. That'll jump the power across, and now we'll get our water pipes there. Now we're going to run this up here as well because we are going to eventually add a couple of uses up here. Now, I really would love to have farms up here. Again, we've just got to wait for some of that demand to come back because right now it's just absolutely brutal. No demand for anything. We're going to resume this again, and now I want to call a bit of a mulligan. I have a couple of uses here that don't really make a ton of sense. We're going to back these off, and I'm going to actually manually search for some service stations and auto-oriented uses. So there we go. We got a couple of gas stations now lined up over here, and we are going to also temporarily, we'll just add in one of these junction boxes, which will hopefully power all of this. Same thing over here. And then we'll make sure that we've got water pipes serving all of these uses. I'm noticing one thing. I don't know that I love this dip right here. So we're going to try to resolve that quickly as well. There we go. And I want to go through, and you'll notice I left some gaps in between here. The whole reason I did that is we're to get our CPP parking lots and add some next to these. And I forgot I cannot place these unless we have a normal road. So we're going to need to convert this to some sort of normal 2-lane road. Okay, and I adjusted the heights of all of these to try to make sure that they're all pretty consistent. And I think that's much better. I'm going to try to convert this back. So we will force our zoning, and I want to see if it destroys. Yeah, it does. So that's not going to work. Kind of unfortunate. I was really hoping to have that highway aesthetic here. What I think we'll do is we'll just scoot this over, and that'll do the trick for us. There we go. And then we can convert this one back because there's no need to have this area be a normal street. So there we go. Really, really like that. We've got to add just a little bit of landscaping through here. The other thing is looking around here, we've got sand coming up here, and that's the one thing about my theme that maybe isn't great, but I still like it so much. So we'll roll with it. Very, very, very good. Feeling good about this. I'm going to let this roll for a minute to see when things connect up. So we'll just pop on out of here and let this fill in. Okay, and things are filling in well, but I have a sneaking suspicion that we've got a problem. So I'm going to pop through here, and I just want to make sure that we actually have power along here, because remember, we're relying on one transformer right now. And amazingly, it is powering all of these homes. So we've almost got that connection made there. So I guess we'll just be happy with it. What I want to do now is go through and make sure that all of our trees aren't just popping up through all these homes. And then we're going to taper the backyards off a bit to make it feel a little bit more real. All right, and I'm feeling pretty darn good about this. I think that we've made some really excellent progress here. And now it's about just doing the small things that make every place feel a little bit better. And obviously there are little pockets where we can add some additional density, but look at this. This is a really up and coming place. I am very curious though. If we take a look at our right here. So this is an area where maybe we shouldn't have developed housing, but it appears that they're okay. Now, if we really wanted to take this to the next level, maybe we just add in a little bit more landscaping back here. And I don't think that did anything, but it did make me feel better. So that counts for something, right? And then up here, I want to do the same thing. I want to fill in some of these areas with just a little bit more landscaping. So other additions that we can make up here, we could add in fences. I saw that in some of the locations. The other thing that we could do is add in parking lots. It's interesting to see. Looks like we have a scooter and an SUV parked here. I don't know where are you going? Where are you going? You are currently parked. You reside over here. Oh, wow. So you teleported all the way down there. Interesting. I guess whatever works. Whatever works. I'm not going to judge. I'm not going to judge one bit. So with this, I think that we made some pretty amazing progress here. We've only added 200 people, which is kind of the fascinating thing. All of this, 200 people. So that our traffic, 79%. So we're not any worse there than we were, but we've got power now. So I think that we need to take inventory of what we've done and have a brief city tour. And I always love a good city tour because it gives us the opportunity to really sink our teeth into the build and get a feel for what we just done. So with that, I think that we need to make a couple of fixes based on your suggestions. So first of all was a suggestion for the name of the park by Liquid Drain. And the suggestion was Lincoln Park. So there's actually something funny about this. Remember, we said that Miller Street here was actually based upon Lakeshore Drive in Chicago, and one of the neighborhoods along Lakeshore Drive and one of the parks is Lincoln Park, but spelled like Abraham Lincoln. So I think that's what we're gonna do. We're gonna make this Lincoln Park. Thank you so much for the suggestion, Liquid Drain. It was a good one. Next one is a suggestion from Adam Jones, who wanted to name the dog park, and I love the idea of this. We're gonna make this the Bark Park. Thank you so much, Adam. That was a wonderful suggestion. And then there was a suggestion by Logan, I guess, that we create a city named Nicolet. Now, this is an interesting one to me. I've seen your suggestion a couple of times, Logan, and I'll tell you why I didn't name a city. And that is, editor Phil breaking in here just to say that I'm about to go on a rant about Nicolet and George Washington and a bunch of other stuff. And I apologize, but I just love history. And Logan, you brought me here. It's your fault. So, deal with it. Nicolet had a bad relationship with the U.S. So there really aren't many things named after Nicolet in the U.S. So I actually looked this up, and there are 6 streets in the U.S. named after Nicolet. So Nicolet, for anyone who doesn't know, was a French general and later the president of France, really one of the liberators of France and the creators of modern-day France. That said, Nicolet didn't have a great relationship with any of the presidents that he interacted with. So he was in power during World War II, and then later on, a little bit later in the 50s and 60s, and had poor relationships with FDR, with JFK, with Dwight Eisenhower, and with LBJ. So just kind of across the board, bad relationships. But in North America, he didn't just upset the US, he also upset Canada, which is really impressive. In 1967, while visiting the World's Fair in Montreal, Canada, he said this:
Vive Montréal! Vive le Québec! Vive le Québec libre!
Now this means long live a free Quebec, which was incredibly controversial to the politicians in Ottawa at the time. Now none of this is to diminish Charles de Gaulle, it's just to say that he's different things to different places, and in North America I don't think he's revered as well as some other French leaders. That said, we are going to name a street after de Gaulle. So we're going to name this de Gaulle Avenue, So it's funny. I would expect that if we were to name anything after a French ruler, it would likely be Napoleon. So there are actually 8 cities in the U.S. named Napoleon, one named Napoleonville, and another one named Bonaparte. And there's a reason for that. That's that the Louisiana Purchase happened when Napoleon was emperor. And it's interesting because Napoleon was an autocrat. He led to a lot of despair. He also championed a number of things that really brought society forward. Really complicated fellow, but for his place in American history, he was rewarded with many things being named after him. It's kind of like George Washington. You wouldn't expect to see many George Washington monuments in the UK. In fact, there's only one, and it was installed in the 1900s. Yet look at France, where you can see multiple statues of Washington right in Paris. That's just another example of how leaders can mean different things to different places, and de Gaulle was no different. De Gaulle is just one of those figures that I think that if you ask many French people, I'm just speculating, maybe if you're from France, let me know your feelings on de Gaulle, but the feeling that I get is that he is a revered figure, probably one of the very best French leaders ever, but his importance in U.S.-French relations is probably not quite as high, and as a result, a street is what he gets, not a community. So I hope that makes sense. And I think we're going to leave it here. I appreciate that suggestion, Logan, I guess, and I hope that you've enjoyed this episode. If you did, please hit the like button. If you're not subscribed to the channel, please consider doing so, and I really cannot wait to see you in the next one. Thank you so much for joining me. Take care. Wow. Bye-bye.